Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to This Week in Base Hit. I am your host, Zubaz, joined as almost always by Clone. Clone, how was your
How you
week?
doing? Oh, I'm doing all right. I'm doing good.
Good.
I
I
survived the tornadoes an hour
y-
ago, so everything's good.
you got tornadoes. Our friends in Florida have Hurricane Helene. A lot going on weather-wise. It's beautiful here in Texas. Normally I'm the one complaining, but it's absolutely gorgeous here. Temperate. I can actually go outside.
Jinx, 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 jinx,
Yep.
jinx.
Yep. But I want to start with the reason I'm wearing my signed uh, Jose Canseco jersey, why I'm wearing my A's hat. It's not because I'm rooting for Cardboard Tube's team in remake to win a third title. That it is a great team they put together, but no, it is because yesterday, and I know this is coming out on Monday, but yesterday, Thursday night, was the last game in the Oakland Coliseum. It was very sad. If you watch the game, it was even sadder. They kept cutting to very distraught fans and people crying, and it was very sad how they're going out there in Oakland. And I want to show some love to one of the greatest teams of like my come up. You know, those 80s
Yeah.
teams with the Hendersons, the 90s teams with the Bash Brothers, actually 80s too. They had some incredible teams. And in Oakland Coliseum, the photo was taken of my very favorite baseball card of all time, the greatest baseball card I've ever owned, and it's Ricky Henderson's rookie. I love this card more than anything. I don't know what about it. It was just like when I was a kid, I just thought he looked so cool. And um, so
You gifted me one of those, and it's awesome.
yeah, I
Good
did.
to
That's
have
right.
them. I needed to. We had talked about it. Talked about having the baseball card collection back in the day, and then at some point we got old enough and wanted money for beer, and would go and raid the baseball card collections. And the Ricky Henderson rookies were worth a lot, and
They were worth several cases of beer even back in
so
the
damn
day.
stupid, so damn stupid. But
Yep.
I
But
didn't
now you
realize
got
I
it.
hadn't kept up on Oakland. How long were they at the Coliseum? Do you know?
57 years. So the Coliseum obviously was super old and it was janky and it needed to be
Yeah, yeah.
rebuilt. But still, I still fault that owner because there's ways to if he couldn't get the money to rebuild, there's still ways to move the team that doesn't slap the fans in the face for a number of years with first off bad teams, but also botching the move so bad that you got to move to San Francisco to a small college stadium for 2 years. Like that's just it's going to be such an ugly 2 years, unfortunately, for the A's before.
Wonder if that'll
But
be. I don't know what stadium are they going to? Because
I
what's the
it,
temporary stadium that's on the riverfront right now that they've got going on for
in
one of the
Oakland.
no one of the teams that's been playing some in the Lakefront Stadium. You know what I'm talking about?
Uh-uh.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
But yeah, the A's are playing it. I think
Always
it might
football.
even be
Never mind.
I doubt it's even a D1 stadium in
Wow.
Sacramento. So it's just like this sad like thing
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is going to be on TV for 2 years, and they don't have any hometown team because even Sacramento, as much as Sacramento admittedly will come out and support them because they are good fans, it's not it's Las Vegas's team. Now, once they get to Vegas, everything should be good because Las Vegas has been a great sports town. Like the what they did with the Golden Knights in the NHL, that will be cool. But unfortunately, like Oakland's paying the price, and so I want to just pay homage to all those great fans out there in Oakland today.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about all the history, and you didn't even talk about Moneyball coming from out
Moneyball.
there.
Yeah, like there's a YouTube channel called I Talk, which I think is a really good baseball channel, and they believe that Moneyball is the greatest baseball movie of all time, but they're making the argument that it gets to like the internal mechanics of what baseball really is from a business side, which I think
Yeah, yeah.
is true from that sense, but it's not the best baseball movie of all
What a
time.
perfect segue into what my topic was going to be.
All right, let's go into it.
I had an inside baseball topic. That's the finances of the game.
Oh,
I wanted to
I
talk about I wanted
I
to
did.
talk about a very tiny issue that people have feelings about, which is scrubs.
Okay, yeah, let's talk. I
I
got
had a
thoughts on
very
scrubs. I can ball on this topic.
I had a long conversation with somebody yesterday about it, but because so just to back up, scrubs it used to be that you could have the lowest was 50K for a player and they
Yep.
would be bad, but there was variation in them.
Variations of bad.
Yeah, there'd
Yeah.
be variations of bad. Um, but there was also a lot of time spent in getting people to generate scrubs for your league,
And
bidding
in
on
some leagues,
racing to get the cheapest guy from free agency,
yes, I was going to
drafting
say in
guys.
some leagues, scrubs became valuable enough that people were drafting them regularly in the third round.
Yep. So there was a bunch of energy. So then so we were already not all that excited about that. Then when it came time to, we wanted to add the hard cap. That's when we realized we needed $0 players because, and this is so anyway. So
It became a no-brainer. We had to do something because it was like taking over the game. And in some leagues, scrubs were so valuable that the fight for scrubs on free agency were far more than the fight for good players because everybody needed scrubs.
well, that's true. But even just the fact that even if everything, so people don't like scrubs. I don't like scrubs. You don't like scrubs. Nobody likes scrubs. But if you're gonna
TLC
have a hard,
doesn't. TLC and TCL don't like scrubs. If you get it, you
that's
get
pretty
it.
good.
Yeah.
Um, but if you're gonna have a hard cap league, even in the perfect league situation where you have perfect finances or everything else, let's say your cap is 60 million, you have a perfect team, they're going to cost more next year. You have to make cuts, right?
Yeah.
There have to be some kind of cuts for
Yeah.
team.
Yeah.
Again, in a perfect world, every single person is going to be on top of their cuts at all times, and you're not going to ever need any scrubs. But it's not a perfect world, so then that means that if a team is not set, we have to automatically
Yeah.
cut
We
some
have to
people.
auto assign scrubs, and you can't auto assign guys of varying
Yeah, of money.
salaries.
You have to
Yeah.
know.
That,
That's the
yeah.
other thing is you have to know what they make because you can't keep them because then otherwise you don't have a hard cap.
Yes.
So that was the big change. And if they were going to be the same size, and rather than having scrub farming and everything else, we decided to just make them straight across the board the same.
We could talk
There,
about scrub farming too. That was a
so
scourge for a
yeah.
long time.
So so I was hearing from people, and I hear it all the time. We feel the same way that hate the $0 players and don't want them there. And
Oh, really?
oh yeah, because somebody doesn't pay. The problem is somebody doesn't pay attention, and then all of a sudden you've got somebody
Yes.
that's pitching a starting pitcher that's a scrub, and then it's messing with you.
Whose
And
fault is that?
well, I know, but people hate it. So anyway, it was a conversation going back and forth, and I'm serious when I say this because I feel the same way that I would love for there to be a different option. But if you go through the logic of it, if somebody
Scrubs
can
are,
tell me
yeah.
a good idea for how you would do scrubs, know exactly what they cost for a hard cap league, not have people chasing them, and also like maybe just the most basic thing that is argued is like let's just make them variable quality even if they're $0. I guess
No,
that's
that's
realistic, but
crazy.
then yeah, do you feel good that
We're not
your
trying to
scrub that
create.
filled in is worse than the next guy?
Oh, to be honest, you're blowing my mind here because I didn't even know this was a debate. We're not trying to create players. We're trying to create placeholders, right? Like scrubs are placeholders. They shouldn't be confused with players. Now you can leave them there if you want to run a three-man rotation and put them into those two plays, but they're acting as placeholders. If you put them as a long reliever, that's a placeholder, but that placeholder might pitch, and when he does pitch, you can think of it like a position player pitching essentially. But like they're not meant to be confused with like a lottery draft of I got lucky with a scrub. And if they do have any sort of attributes, they should be making a salary. And so
Yeah.
and to your point, like when you think about all the negatives that came with scrubs, maybe people have short-term memories. There was a scrub problems everywhere. Scrub farming, we haven't even talked about that, where people used to make trades intentionally to create scrubs and then keep doing it until they got good ones. Like there's a million reasons to say that scrubs were bad. We should no game. Now I'm ranting a little bit, but no game's strategy has ever been based on the generation of the lowest common denominator. And
Yep.
that can't be part of our game. Like a good part of the game should never be like, we got the best, worst guys.
Uh, I mean, you and I agree, but yes, and it's funny because you're getting ranty, but people feel the same way, and I think other people feel the same way too. But the argument is there's going to be these people that are inactive, and then you're going to have placeholders that are playing, and people hate having placeholders that are playing.
Is that
I
the
understand
argument
that.
in low activity leagues? Like there's
Well, it's
owners
not
that
just
aren't
low
being.
activity. It's not just low activity. There's high activity leagues. I can't remember the name of the one that you just mentioned, but that one has people that don't keep up sometimes, and then all of a sudden you have somebody that's starting games that shouldn't be. So we were actually looking at it. Mike and I
Be
were looking
off
at
on
it
that
yesterday.
fool.
Well, yeah, you can have people yell at them. I mean, the other option I
No,
was
I
thinking
meant the scrub pitcher, but yeah, also that.
I'm
Yeah.
trying to explain to people how complicated it is. Again, if people have good ideas, but a lot of the ideas come to, well, if you fix every other thing and if everybody's all active, then you won't have this problem. I agree with you, but uh, I had thought about whether we should reorder people's lineups automatically at the flip. So if you sign a scrub, at least it would automatically bring your guys up. The problem with that is that if we're if we're reordering everybody's orders every year on their own, are they going to be happy with that? I think most people are not going to be happy with finding out that your
Yeah.
team got automatically rejiggered.
Well, and you're creating a complicated solution for a simple problem. Like the simple problem is like if you have a non-competitive owner, and if that's the case in a active league, then you can manually make a rule around that. Like if a league wants to say if somebody starts a scrub pitcher, the commissioner can go in and make the change for the good of the competitiveness of the league. All
I
right.
like that idea. I like that idea. That I think people have been. I mean, it's a pain to monitor teams, and I wouldn't want to be stuck doing that. But I like the idea that like you're kind of forfeiting. I'm not saying kick people out if it happens because I understand like it can happen, whatever, but you are kind of forfeiting the sovereignty of your team, and if the league feels like it's that big a deal, let the commissioner go in and swap somebody out on their own. I
Yeah.
like that idea. Actually, I hadn't thought about that or heard about that.
Well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I was saying in our previous meeting is like never underestimate the power of a league to manually fix
yep.
game limitations. And in this case, like I don't think it's a game limitation as much as it's a management of the inactivity of your owners. And so that does have to be a manual thing. Like uh and I
And we're,
mean,
we're we're talking about it like it's just bad leagues, whatever. It happens for everybody, and it's just
well, I've
people
pitched
get
a scrub
busy and
before
you
for
fall
sure.
behind. I've had it happen in leagues that if I didn't pay attention and it flipped and I didn't know what happened, and then I'll figure out a weekend like, oh shit, this guy is playing third base and he shouldn't have been like. So it's not
And
like it doesn't mean that I am shitty, even though you want to call me shitty, or the league is, but figuring out what to do in that situation. And
let
I
me
don't,
tell you a
again, I
quick
hate
story.
having a placeholder there, but I have not heard it's, I like it better than every other option I've heard from people so
Well,
far.
yeah. And like you started this off right. Like you went through the entire list of all the things that it fixed. And so like let's not forget that, because like trying to go back in some way is going to we are going to walk quickly into the land of unintended consequences, and it's going to break a bunch of other stuff because like that's just we have all these leagues are leagues of a million moving parts. And so nothing works in isolation. So adding scrubs that are playable is going to create a whole new mess. And the worst thing that happened is we had a game economy that was based on terrible players in so
Uh,
many leagues, especially with hard caps. And that's no fun. That's no fun
no,
for anybody. But I
I
just want to
agree.
tell you one quick anecdotal story. I was in a league that will remain nameless, that where I was managing a three-person managing a three-person rotation, and the fourth and
Is this
fifth
lawn chair?
guys nameless.
Okay.
And but it was a two-a-day league, so I figured I was able to manage it pretty
Yep.
well. And then I had two scrubs in the third and fourth leagues. And game one of I was traveling, and game one of the division round playoffs, I started a scrub, and he pitched well, and I won the game. And somebody in that league got so mad that they quit the entire league over it. And
Yep.
it was just total accident. But the like I missed it. I missed
Yeah.
setting that pitching lineup, and I should have paid for it, but because I didn't, it created this rage. But it was
Yep.
just a mistake. It was just a miss, and I should have gotten shredded for it. I should have lost 15-0,
Well,
but I
that's
didn't.
well, that's yeah. I mean, it's a good story. I mean, the so some people would say, well, at least you could have somebody variable. I don't know how they would feel better about if you had a guy that was 50,
Yeah,
10, 30, like,
he
oh,
still
that's
shouldn't have won.
yeah.
None of
And
them should have won.
when we first put the scrubs out, we had them 20, 20, 20, and everybody we actually decided to bump them up a little bit. But yeah, if you don't want them to win, then what you want. We have other people arguing the other that we should bump up the level of what they are because it's not realistic to have these guys that suck. Now, what you're just saying, like they suck, but they're not like it's like baseball. So when you
Yeah,
suck, you still got a 600 OPS. It's not like you never hit the ball or anything like
I
that.
mean, the Brewers had a guy this year that batted 197. He still played 90 games. And if you look at 30-30-30 scrubs that play all year, they're batting like Mendoza line or somewhere near it. You know,
Yep.
I actually think that's where it should be, is like it should be high enough that they're not just a zero base player, but low enough that they're never expected to be good.
Yep.
And like I think where it's at, I'm not saying everything's perfect, but I'm just getting a little ranty because I think this is not a firm terra firma place to make a stand argument. We fixed 30 problems and created one, which is if you're inactive, you pay for it, which
Yep.
is fine. Or
I
and I think the only other argument is that because of bullpen logic, you can't stash bad players and expect them not to play, but which is also illogical because like you should have a bullpen full of people that can compete, and you
Yep.
should plan around it.
I still will put it
And
out
we have
there.
manager settings, so you can fix it anyway.
I'll still put it out there that we don't. I don't want to go back to days of everybody having to fight over and spend a bunch of time trying to get their scrubs. We need to have a predictable dollar amount for hard cap leagues of what they make. If somebody else has a better idea of how you might use scrubs, I'd like to hear it. But everything I've heard so far, it just adds to it. Again, it's a lot of the other answers will be like, well, if everybody was more valuable and the ratings were this and yes, if we fixed everything, then I understand. And if everybody showed up all the time, I understand it wouldn't be an
What
issue. But
prompted this?
there was an argument.
Where
Well,
there's
there was an argument that started in Blab, uh, and but it comes up. I mean, people not liking scrubs, but And
Yeah.
then I went and had a side discussion with somebody yesterday.
That will
Extensive.
remain nameless.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll talk about it out now.
Yeah.
Hey, Moden, how you doing? Moden and I had a very long discussion about this, and I totally understand. But I'll just say I never heard an answer of an alternative of what you would have. I think his big finale was he would like them to be variable, but
But then you get
I
into the
don't think
salary again. Like if you have $0 variable, then they become valuable again. Now you need to start scrub farming, because if they're variable, you just keep scrub farming until you get a good one.
I
That's
agree.
that opens up the worst can of worms of all, because then you don't even pay for them.
And if you raise the value of them, which is the other argument, at some point when you raise the value of them, they're more valuable than people in free agency. So then more people are trying to get $0 people.
They're more valuable than anybody making 500K.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
anyway,
and when I
I
say
like having
variable,
this
I
conversation.
realize what he's saying is not make them good, make them variable. But if you remember what the variability is, and obviously we can probably cap this, but even if you get somebody that variably became a 77 range shortstop, that person's valuable. That person's a perfect
No,
backup
I agree.
shortstop, or
I
whatever. You
just
understand what I'm
my
saying?
own fairness belief, just the idea that if you're going to put a placeholder in there, are you going to feel good about the fact that you're getting beat by somebody that got lucky and got better placeholders? I mean, so then from there, if you don't want that to be game changing, then
I
you're
was just
saying
gonna
I want
make
them to
that
be
argument.
variable, but I want them to be the exact same value. So then you've done a big circle and done the exact same thing.
Yes, because
Yeah.
you just made a great argument, because like then it becomes a competitive balance issue if people are getting free players that are better than other people's free players. Like the buoyancy is the salary that offsets their abilities, and so then the only way to fix that is to incorporate salaries again, and then we just like regress to where we are. Uh, I feel
Anyway,
like
that's the kind of inside
I feel
baseball
like we're
conversation we like to
making
have.
this like argument, and I didn't know this was going to come up, so like I might be arguing a little much, but also I think maybe not everybody saw it from the angle we saw it, because like running the game from behind the scenes, we were seeing all leagues, all problems, all complaints. And it was like, we have to fix this. This is like
Mhm.
becoming a scourge on the game. I actually felt like it was like scrub. I thought of scrubs as like the barnacles on a boat. Like we just had to scrape those off. Like it was getting bad. So I think in isolation with certain leagues, people probably are like rationalizing why it would be good for the scrubs to be like that in a certain league. But game wide, we had to fix it. It was like, it's a
Yep.
problem. Maybe that's the
You're
best way to
preaching to
put
the
it.
choir, man. You preach to the choir.
Yeah. Wow, now we just sounded like a couple of bitches for 15 minutes.
No, well, I do think people will like to. I think that some people will like to hear people going around on the strategy of it. The problem being
Yeah.
we didn't bring in the counterpoint, but
Yeah.
the problem with bringing in the counterpoint is that during parts of that conversation with Moden, I was ready to strangle him. Hi, Moden, I love you, but that's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, that's it, man.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I know we're running over, but like I get into those conversations a lot where it's like, God, if I could just get you to see what I see, like you'd be on my side. But that's not how that works, like because people's perspectives are just, from their angle, and I'm sure from his angle, it all made perfect sense. But I just promise Moden or anybody else when it comes to the scrubs, like fix 60 problems with one solution. And maybe it's not perfect, but you're going to be hard pressed to come up with a better solution. We have to avoid the scrub economy, and we have to avoid the variability of scrubs, and we have to avoid the payment of scrubs for a lot of reasons. And the only
If you think
problem
you got a good idea, if you think you got a good
Throw
idea,
it at us.
put them in the comments of the video.
Yep.
Email me
Yep.
at citizenclone@BaseHit. And
.com.
we'll talk about it and make sure that the answer is not if we fix everything else. If we make a huge change to everything else, we're going to fix that one thing, because we all know that. In
Yeah.
a perfect
And
world,
we're
that
just
is-
leveling up. Like there might be a better answer long term, and maybe there's even league options long term, but we got bigger fish to fry. We got Moby Dicks to fry.
Oh, I know. I just thought it'd be I thought it'd be fun to dig into one of those
Yep.
issues. All right, man.
All right. Hopefully you enjoyed this conversation. If it got you fired up, then you should post about it, and you should continue the argument in the forums. Let's get some activity. A good reasoned debate, as long as you don't say my hat stood for a-hole, is good and is healthy, and we encourage it. Until next time, that's what happened this week. Make sure that you show a little bit of love to the Oakland fan in your life this week. They need it. Until next week, we're out.